You're welcome. It's August 18th, 2026. This is a regular meeting of the Old Saybrook Historic District Commission. I will start with a roll call and just ask that each of the commission members and alternates and staff members introduce themselves, please. I'll go first. I'm Paul Knierim.
Barbara Harms. Dr. May.
Lynette Wacker, staff.
Rich Peters, I'm an alternate.
Tom Stevenson.
Aaron Cleaver.
Krista May.
Thank you, everybody. I'm expecting, we have one vacancy among the commissioners this evening. Alan Cantor isn't able to be here. Tamara Laurie is expected, so I'll seat one alternate for purposes of our proceedings tonight. There's a recollection that Rich was seated most recently as an alternate. So Aaron, I'll seat you this evening, please. Moving on to our regular business agenda, we have the minutes from our most recent meeting, which was June 16th. Are there any, the minutes were circulated by Krista by email. Are there any questions or edits on those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
For a second? Tom? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. Lynette, is there any correspondence?
Couple of things. Quick updates. I did send a letter to PCR Holdings, care of Rings End regarding the Beard Lumber building. Haven't heard anything back. You all should have this letter or this email. It came from Chris Costa, original in your packets. I'll just do a quick explanation of that. I think there have been instances where regulatory commissions have discussed applications in meetings, either public hearings or sometimes they don't have to be a public hearing, but when they're considering an application, there's a lot of discussion. And sometimes things might get agreed to in discussion, but if they don't make it into the motion, then there's kind of a discrepancy between when is that part of the approval. So this covers that to say, you know, if you use this language, this basically says that everything in the application plus the things that we discussed in the meeting are part of this. So if someone agrees to something in the discussion, they can come to it. So if anyone's making a motion, please try and remember just on an application. Use this language. You might want to keep this in your package. Just so you have the answer. Any questions?
I'm not seated, but I have a suggestion you can consider.
Please.
The way this fellow wrote this, the last part is a little bit troubling sometimes because it says, and the application materials provided during the meeting. And there's a little bit of a loophole there, you might say. If an applicant comes in and says, oh, I brought plans too, here's the plans. We're not going to take a time out, make sure the first plans or the details, what have you, match what was put in with the application. So I'm just thinking that, I'm not saying we change the word, but something to think about. I'm not sure we want to commit to saying that if materials are supplied, in this case by the applicant during the meeting, that we necessarily are agreeing to those. What we're agreeing to is what was requested and the materials that were put in at the time of the application. Now, if a person says, oh, I made a mistake on the material supply, and I'd like to clarify that before you make your decision, then it's very overt, right? They pointed it out. You're conscious that you're approving something different than what was submitted with the applicant. So that's all. I'm not saying to make a change, but I leave it up to your discretion, but that's my only concern about the words.
But it says during the meeting, provided during the meeting, not provided with the application, but during the meeting. So if a person brings an amended, say a design or whatever, that's providing it during the meeting.
I'm agreeing. So, but what I'm saying is, we had, I won't get into the details, but we had somebody submit something a few years ago. And there was things, you might say not hidden in the plans, but subtle things in the plan. And we ultimately approved. Okay, and then later on, we looked at this, how'd that get approved? That's not right. And then they said, well, it was in the plans up here. Now, I'm not saying they're right about that, or that was right or wrong, whatever. But I'm saying that I would be, for me personally, I would, if somebody brought me another set of plans, I would say, well, I don't want a whole nother set of plans. If what you want is different than what you applied for, or if there's a change in the drawing, what I'd like you to do is be very specific and say, oh, there's the plans I gave you are all correct, everything good, except two things. They contain a couple of errors. Here's what they are. I would like them to call them out so that you commissioners would know. In other words, somebody did slip something in where you don't have time. You're here in the meeting. You're not gonna, you're not engineers, you're not architects. You're not gonna sit here and go, now listen, does page 1 match exactly? Does page 2 match exactly? You're not gonna do that. It's not practical. So that's my only concern. So it's something for you to think about. That's all.
Thank you. The comment I'd make about that is the greater the specificity of our motions when we are acting on an application, the better, I think. 'Cause that's our first opportunity to build into our record exactly what we're approving and whether we have conditions or modifications that we are insisting on. That's very helpful. Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
Lynette, any reports?
I do want to mention a couple of things. Probably haven't noticed, but if you go on our MapGeo application on the website, we had a historic resources, historic districts and properties layer added. So you can't see this because it's so small. I'll put this around. But that's mainly a planning tool for us if we're looking at a property. You can see, oh, look, right next to it, a national register property, or in the state district or something. But it's also handy for anyone who wants to look to see where our historic resources are. We had to limit it to, we didn't have to, but we chose to just for simplicity. National register districts, state register districts, local districts, which are regulated, state register individually listed properties, and national register individually listed properties. So if you're wondering why there aren't that many, that's why we limited it to those.
That's lovely, though. You guys have
So that's that. Questions, get in touch with me. And the building official approved a request for exemption for 142 North Cove Road. That was just for a generator that was behind the existing fence screen, so not visible from the road.
Thank you very much. Right, so I will open the public hearing. We have 2 applications before us this evening. It appears to me that I'm going to go in the order of our agenda tonight. Appears to me the applicant for the 100 North Cove Road application for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a masonry granite wall and column with granite caps. Appears that the applicant is here. Welcome. The floor is yours to present on your application.
The other applicant is on Zoom.
Thank you very much.
Use a picture, so.
Introduce ourselves. My wife, Laura Lee Lewis, and I'm Ken Lewis. And we are the owners of 100 North Cove Road. And we took that residence purchase time in 2015 and spent a year properly renovating. Have been going before this committee for all of the approvals. And the house was significantly renovated to what it was in 1805, right down to making up all of the knives necessary to make up all the moldings. Even the doors, which had been there for over 200 years, had it. And we copied those doors exactly, so that the stickums on one side of the door, which were different, and the stickums up from the stickums on the other side, we made up the knives to put those stickers together. So we have, my wife and I have some experience with dealing with a historic home. We would even argue that the property was a blight because it was on the market for 425 days. It wasn't a livable property, and it was entirely overgrown. And for many years, it's my understanding that work hadn't been done on that, any significant work hadn't been done on that house over 20 years. And so we brought it back to what it would have looked like, including all of the gardens, and there are many gardens. And so if you know our house, when you walk by, all seasons have a new set of flowers circulating around the house. We also have rejuvenated what Wilcox thinks is a tree that's very much older than 100 years, which is a native cherry tree that actually produces cherries. And in one of the photographs, I think you'll see it. And so we make sure that the property is well taken care of. We're always flattered because so many people come down to this property to take photographs of it. And so therefore, there's only so much you can do to beautify your property, and some of that includes having stone garden features. And so in front of the patio, on the side of the house, when we get to that, we decided to make this garden feature because it's attached to no other structure, and it really is just floating there, and it's a reasonably small structure, compatible in size and shape, the period, and the house itself. And so when you see the photographs, you'll be able to say, hey, that thing is no bigger than a window. So I would ask you to please read this little cover letter that speaks to our home and a little bit of its history, and signed by our neighbors, most of which, or most of you, will probably know all of them. So behind that, on the next picture, there's a photograph of the house. And on the left-hand corner of the corner, that's the cherry tree. So it's taller than 3 stories in height. And be very carefully curate that. I'm giving it vitamins all the time because we brought it back significantly from near dying, but not dying, but near dying, to having a beautiful hammock every spring full of many people from around the state come and take photographs. By the way, what's on the right-hand side is a ficus tree which flowers, and we brought that back also. And that ficus tree is the largest, not ficus tree, viburnum tree, largest viburnum tree I've ever seen. On to the next photograph. This is a photograph of some properties right on North Cove. And in the upper left-hand corner, that's 191 North Cove. And that is visible because it's right on the road. And it's similar in construction and design to what is, we hope, will appear on 100 North Cove Road. So when we go over to both to the right, that's 201. What's interesting around 201 is that if you go to the middle below it, there's another column, but with, with electrification. And so I don't know whether that was approved, when it was approved, but in fact, that seems to be very typical as when you drive around town, you see this short column wall design in many locations throughout the town, and every town actually throughout New England. Then right next to it is a wall at 135 North Cove, which is about 4.5 feet tall. And that one could be seen from North Cove, the cove itself, from the east, and from North Cove Road. And then when we go down, and I believe that received approval in and around 2010, there was significant work there. And when you go into the lower right-hand corner, that edifice was put in place and approved in 2022. And that's viewable from the cove, viewable from the road. Yes. And the wall at the stairway is about a little bit over, I think it's a little over 5 feet. Of course, I didn't run onto these properties, but I'm a pretty good judge of distance and size. So that wall and was built anew. Actually, it was built as a patio. And so that received approval in 2022. So, interestingly enough, I found this photograph on the web. And so this technique of building out of granite is very doable when you have a structure which is floating, which the structure we have is a floating structure because it's attached to nothing. We also had the problem of the drainage off the patio, the water running off the end of the side of the patio. And so therefore we had a fear that ultimately the water running off in the winter would refreeze and shift the floating garden features. And so we made the decision to build it in this method. Now, this method is pretty typical. You have a block innards, and around it, you have to buy your granite from a granite source that's able to cut it so that it fits. So for instance, this is a corner. And of course, this is another corner. And so if you could imagine, the concrete block would be in the middle. And with a concrete platform, an actual footing, no matter how much water would go around it, the structure itself would not be tilted. It would not lean. And so what I said, so let me go back. So what happens is you pick out the granite that you're interested in. So this matches most of the granite on the property and much of the granite in the patio itself. And so all of these pieces are cut. So as you can see, cut. So for instance, this stone was a rectangle and that stone was a rectangle. And so we do a calculation of how many corners we need, how many centerpieces we need. So it's not just a willy-nilly type of project. A lot of thought has to go into this, from the original build so that it stays stable, into making sure that it can look like they were individual stones, because that's what they are. And so there are about 6 different sizes. The smallest size is the sample I left with Lynette. Now, where these garden features go is where there were old and dying shrubberies that were really quite terrible because this is not a very big area. So they were taking up quite a bit of the area and they were very unattractive. And so I put together an agreement with my mason, who was from Madison. And I said, look, we're going on holiday, but while we're gone, dig out those shrubs and just pour the concrete pad. Well, what happened is he put up more structure than I had authorized. And the reason why he had done that, in speaking to him, was he felt that there was so much rain and so much inability to get the job done because it's wet mortar, that he went ahead, not knowing that this process needed to take place. When we got back, the day after we got back from the holiday, I got a call from Lynette. Now, this is not our first rodeo here in this committee and on prior committee. And so we spoke briefly, and I knew I had to get an application, and she had provided in her voicemail, you know, where I get the URL of where I get the applications. So I think that I've belabored that point enough, the construction technique. But if you have any questions, please, I'm glad to answer it for you.
Not these photos,
Okay.
exactly where the work started. And the views of our mailbox and standing in the center of North Cliff Road.
So, shall I continue?
Yes.
So what you have, we'll start with the upper right-hand photo. The upper right-hand photo is standing in the middle of North Cove Road. By the way, that's the base of the cherry tree. And so looking on North Cove Road, there is no visibility of the garden feature. If you go below it, you can see this cherry tree. And you can see up the property that there are the two columns and a small wall. And to make a judgment, there's only about 8 to 10 feet between that and the jutted out part of the house. So that you can see that it's consistent in size and scope for that location. If you were coming around the corner, so you're almost to my mailbox, this is the bottom left-hand photograph. That is what you would see. And in the upper left-hand corner is the photograph with me standing in the middle of my driveway, because we have quite a long driveway, looking at two structures. And so I would say it's reasonably unobvious, and you can only see it from the east, and you can only see it if you're interested in looking for it. In front of it, in completion, there will be two large crimson azalea plants in front of each one. So if you go back to the very first photo of the house, those crimson azaleas are the ones that are in the lower right-hand side. Okay. So, all right, David.
Can I ask a question? A
Just
clarification.
just make sure he's done with his presentation.
That's what I would,
Yeah, let's let him finish.
Okay. And Tommy has the,
no, I'll wait until you're, I just need to know if I need to wait or not.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to finish your presentation before we
okay.
begin asking
So you'll
questions.
see there's a mechanical drawing of the structure and all the dimensions that are there. You also see in the next page, its location. So as you can see, it's butted up very tight to the patio so that it is behind all of our shrubberies. And that's why you can only have vision of it from the east. And then in the last piece, roughly 2/3 up from the bottom, you'll see a little black square. That is where they are. So it's in the middle of the property. So I would say there's not a lot more to say about that, except to go with the explanations, which you may have questions about in the original application. And so I would like to say that both my wife and I have supported the Historic Society. If you go into the library in the Historic Society, you will find that a window that we donated during the window construction of the society, and we are members of it all the time. We are also strong supporters of the Kate, and we have also made a significant pledge for the new construction of Kate. So we have to say that this is a town that my wife and I are very affectionate about, and try to do things that are beautiful without compromise in the historic district. And so I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for your presentation. And we appreciate your making the application for approval as the process requires. There may be questions from commission members. Tommy, I think you had a
I
question?
just need a point of clarification for me. So you said he poured the slab. So are these just renderings, like images that you, or are these there?
No, those are there.
Oh, those are there. Okay, that's what. I wasn't sure if it was just the slab or those. Okay, so,
No, the slab is.
and then this is the base that you're putting on that.
Mhm.
Okay, those colors. Okay.
So
I didn't know AI nowadays. I didn't know if this was the AI thing, because he had mentioned the slab, so I just want to know what I was looking at. Sorry. It's fine.
Okay. Other questions from members?
So it sounds like you have done a lot of planning and preparation on this, even
yes.
though you're cutting corners.
Very good.
And the size of it, you're mason, or you actually have to plan the number of pieces you have to cut for the corners?
That's correct. There are roughly 6 different sizes, probably a few more because the insignificant size like that. So we calculate every piece that we're going to need. For instance, there's pieces that are larger than this that make up corners and centerpieces. So that from the final analysis and looking at the photos, if we want to go back to that, the photo of the piece this one, which was approved in 2022, is built with the same methodology as I am using here, same construction techniques. And it's likely that the one on the left-hand side was built in the same way. But that I don't know. But it seems to look that way, yeah. From the distance.
So, and you talked about floating. So footing and the actual structure in the center is fixed, but the outside wall will float, as you're saying?
No, the outside wall is attached to the block with mortar. As a matter of fact, about 80% Portland, so it's there forever.
So the outside covering is attached to the inside concrete.
That's right. So if you can imagine that there'd be a block right here.
Yeah.
So
I think the floating was that it doesn't connect anywhere, right?
right.
Right. The
Because
wall doesn't connect anywhere, that lower portion of the stone,
We were talking about water, so I was wondering what kind of floating we're talking about.
right?
You know, whether we got a North Cove flooding your front door.
no, it's a funny thing that the house is not in a flood zone, but the mailbox is.
What's the topper gonna be? Is it gonna be bluestone or granite?
It's gonna be granite.
Okay, just curious.
See, because the colonials would not have used stone.
Is there a pattern that you guys are following? Is there like a particular, are you trying to match the pattern of the front wall?
Well, we're not trying to match any pattern.
Okay.
It's really rather random. The person that's doing the actual work is, I would consider him a very artistic mason. He's European, and this is his fashion. This is what he does. He's an older guy. And he's very good at this. And so it has a randomness, just like any wall. And of course, the granite is as random as nature made it, at least a few million years ago.
Will there be any reflectors or light on this particular wall?
No, there will not be any light. It would have been nice to put a light, but being consistent with what the nature is of the historic North Cove, I can choose to put a light on top of it. So we have, when we reconstructed the house, one of the lights that made sense to use were Nantucket lights, which would have originally been whale oil. And so the house has a larger Nantucket light. They're all relatively the same, except there's two different sizes, a small one, two of which are on the patio. And there's a larger one at the front door and a larger one at the mudroom, but no lighting on this structure. It's a good place to put plants. Grow flowers.
Or candles, if you want more.
Hurricane wind.
Careful with that, right? 200 whatever year old house.
Is a building permit required for the project?
I don't believe so.
Lynette?
Well, I'm no expert, but I don't think so. It's not a retaining wall. It's just a retaining wall, so
How deep are the footings?
Say the footings are about 2 feet deep. Because when this is all backfilled, plants are put in front of it and so on, so that it's quite deep. So that it's deep enough so that the water can run behind it and away from it. And it would not be subject to frost.
Is the stone sourced from the same location as the front of your property that you're showing us?
That I don't know. Because the front of the property was done by Scott Hazlitt. And this is done by father and son. So it is similar. But we had two considerations. We had the patio, which may have been there since 1805. It's a very interesting patio. It was a lot of work to make that useful because it had floated all over the place. And there weren't many people that were willing to pull it up, relay it properly. And it was interesting that Asa Kirtland apparently knew something about construction. He was the town blacksmith. And when we took up the first layer of the patio, what you had was another layer of stone underneath it. And that's what they used as kind of a footing, so that the actual top stones varied in thickness between 3 inches and 6 inches. So the cut was such that they were skilled in cutting stone. So the top portions were mostly pretty flat, so that you could put a chair on and a table on it, et cetera, et cetera. When the mason that relaid it did that work. And so it was likely, because it's odd that the house would have two rear doors, side doors. And so if we go to that photograph, if we go to the last photograph again, you will note in the top left-hand corner that there's a door right behind the structure and a door to the right of the structure. Now, there were, not to exaggerate, but there were a gazillion small railway bedrooms in this house. And so in that period of time, there were many unforeseen deaths. And we're of the opinion that the door closest to the road, on the right-hand side as we're looking at, that was the greeting room in the house. And it's likely that that's where they would have the showings and then bring the casket out over this patio. So, trying to get an understanding of what was going on at that time, how to preserve this house and what it was about, we're very careful in every way. So to give it staying power so that even this structure will be here 200 years from now.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from commission members? Is there anyone, I don't see anybody in the room, anybody on Zoom who might care to comment on this application before we move on to the next?
He's not, he doesn't have his camera or his microphone on. Oh, there he is.
I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay, just checking.
Thank you. Appreciate
your
it.
application in just a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, so it appears there are no other questions. Just by way of procedure, we're going to continue our public hearing to hear the other application. Then the commission will decide whether to close the public hearing tonight or not, and further decide whether to act on your application. You're welcome to stay for the duration. You're not obligated to stay. I'll give you a chance for having the last word if there's anything else, because once we close the public hearing and go into deliberations, we can't entertain comments or answers to questions from you. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, feel free.
No, I think that for what it is, I think that it's been fully presented. And respectfully, we'll stay through the meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move on to the second application before us tonight. It's for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a 12 by 16-foot gazebo on a gravel pad at 60 North Cove Road. I see Mr. Connolly is on the Zoom. Would you like to make a presentation, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. And sorry I can't be there in person, but I think we have submitted what we're wanting to do. It's a screened gazebo, kind of a 3-season room on a gravel pad. It's a size of 12 by 18. We've lived on the property, by the way, since 1996, and have largely kept within the original footprint. I did build a wood shop, a standalone garage a few years ago that's on the property, but it's pretty much as it was when we moved in from a footprint standpoint. The gazebo is one that's going to be built on site because it can't be backed in because of where the buildings are and the trees are, and we don't want to move trees. And the vendor is Carefree Buildings, who have done several other, sheds and gazebos in the area. It's basically a white vinyl material, screened enclosed porch, kind of a 19th century style. It will match, the roofing will match the existing house shingles. I'm trying to think, the height's 12 inches high, or 12 inches, 12 feet high, and lower than the two-story house or even the one-story standalone garage, which is my wood shop. And if you look at page 4 of the application, my wife did a nice drawing of where the property and where things are relative to the North Cove Road. We're kind of odd. We're right on the edge of the North Cove Historic District, so it kind of starts at our mailbox. So parts of our house, certainly the front and the garage and the driveway side, are within the district. The back of the house is not, but of course anything that's visible is of course, within the district, so to speak. This would be slightly visible within the district. It's somewhat blocked by the wood shop, the standalone garage. It is 17 feet west of the road. And I think we put a picture of what the gazebo looks like. It's largely a screened, structure. The picture we included shows a lovely swimming pool and patio. That is not, unfortunately, going to be included in our application. It's just the gizmo, the gazebo. And I think that's basically it. I look at questions. It'll be a gravel pit, so it'll be well back from the road, close to the Andersons' property, well beyond the setbacks, etc. But I think that's my presentation.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Tom?
Well, is there gravel there already, or do you have to
No.
bring gravel in?
We have to bring some gravel in. There's just topsoil there right now.
And you'll have electrical as well, so.
The garage, the property, the standalone garage does have electric. We are not anticipating electric for this.
Anyone else? I have a question that may be more for Lynette than for you, Paul, but
Yes, sir.
feel free either way. You're indicating that this portion of your property is not in the historic district, and that's a curiosity to me as to where the boundaries are and how it
Yeah.
works when an individual's parcel is on both sides. Lynette, do you want to speak to that?
So the map, but I've already done this.
Yeah.
I believe the confusion is that although it appears that their entire house lot, you have 2 lots, their entire house lot, which includes this location of the gazebo, is within the district.
Yep.
But if you were to go across the street, that property is not. So the way they drew the line is they drew it across the street near their mailbox and then down. So it kind of cut the street in front of your gazebo location out of it looks like cut the street out of the district. Though anything visible from a public way is subject to if the structures in the district. So the short answer is I believe their entire lot is a village. So if you don't have your maps. If you don't.
Yeah, over the years, some of the stuff we've done, like windows in the back, we're not subject. We've always come before you because we figured you guys get to decide. But this looks as though at least a piece of it is likely visible from the district. Hence the application.
Their whole this one lot, you have an adjacent lot, we're not talking about that. That's outside of the district. But this lot where the gazebo is located is entirely within the district, according to the.
Yeah, what they're talking about is.
Understood.
So
I
this
see
is their
that.
house, and then there's the garage, the new garage, and then this is going back here.
Okay. Does everybody have access to a map, or can we borrow yours to pass it around? Just
make sure that.
okay, Barbara's to be returned. I should write on it. Yeah, so it appears that
Don't write.
the sign maybe creates a little confusion.
Gotcha.
The location of the
Understood.
sign, as opposed to the actual boundary of the district.
Okay, okay. That's good clarification. Thank you.
If we put the sign on the other side of the street, we probably would
Yeah.
happen to be on the left side as you're going in.
And then confuse the owner on the opposite side. So
Yeah.
one way or another, this has to be
Yeah.
addressed. Okay, any other questions? And, nobody else on Zoom or in attendance who wishes to comment on this? All right, Paul, just giving you the last word because we will close the public hearing. Anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. Thank you for your consideration and all the work you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, is it the wish of the commission to close or keep either of these public hearings open? That's a commission decision now.
We need to make a motion to close it, or do you do that?
I'd entertain a motion if people are so inclined to do that
Well, I'd like to move that we close the public hearing
on both of the
on both
applications.
the applications before us.
Thank you. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing on both of the applications before us? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the public hearing is closed and we can move on to consideration of the applications. And why don't we take them in the order that they're listed, in the order of the public hearing. So let's take up 100 North Cove Road first, please. Are there any comments?
I just feel that the exterior features that he's looking to construct is somewhat minimal. Gone to a great extent to have many corners made.
Cutting.
And it blends in with the rest of the surroundings.
Anyone else?
Look at me.
Look at Krista then.
I'll look at Rich. Right, I will.
You don't have to speak. It
then.
just sounded like you were ready to.
I just want to move things along. If nobody has any other comments or questions, then let's.
I can make a motion.
Have a
to approve
motion.
The application for following this, right?
Districts.
Oh, yeah.
Based on the
Right.
facts, representations, plans, and application
So
materials
for
provided
application of
during.
100
Yes.
right, based on the facts, representations, plans, and application materials provided during the meeting or public.
Or you could
Thank
say
you.
that, because we had this. I second the motion.
Okay, so move.
Sorry, do you want to do it?
No, it's fine. Go.
You can do it.
Erin did it.
I second. Erin second.
I never get to be seated.
I know.
Look, we've had a couple of months off. We're all excited.
That's right. We got business to do tonight. All right, so the motion, just for the sake of clarity, is to construct a masonry granite wall and column with granite caps. And in accordance with the phraseology, timing of your motion. It's moved and seconded. With all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The application is approved, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your listening patiently to the.
Well, thanks for your
presentation.
patience to wait to finish the project till you do the application.
Well, thank you.
Enjoy your wall.
Is that Lynette? So you want, Lynette, you gonna let him take it home? All right.
They might need it. It might be just
Maybe
the
that
right.
one last piece.
I hope we got the counts right.
All right, let's move on to consideration of the second.
Can I just ask can I have your name?
Orally, Aurelie.
Aurelia.
I.e.
Oh, IE. Thank you.
Okay, we're excused.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
you are.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to the second application before us. This is 60 North Cove Road for the construction of a 12 by 16 gazebo. Will anyone remark on that?
Looking at our guidelines for extra little buildings, I think they follow, I think they've done everything according to what's recommended.
Okay, I'm gonna say something, because I think in this particular situation, as far as it is from the road, like, it's great, right? As far as, it's like, you're never gonna see it, it's fine, right? The only question I ask of the commission is approving this application, opening us up to future things that could be like similar on the front, right? Like right on the road, or, right? That's my only question.
So
Does
I
that
think,
open up a precedent?
well, I think we have to take each application for what it is
Mhm.
individually, and the
Okay.
siting of it, as you've remarked. This is well back from the road, also partially obscured by another existing building.
Mhm.
We don't consider landscaping. In this
Right.
case, there is considerable landscaping that screens it, but that's not a consideration in our, but there's nowhere that we say you can't have one of
Mhm.
these secondary structures.
Mhm.
So, as far as distance from the road, that's, usually a zoning purview rather than our purview.
I just mean sight, right? Like, so like
Yeah.
if it's like against the road, right, you're gonna perceive it differently than if
Right.
it's, right? Because everything is from either the water side or
Right.
the street side, right?
Right.
Okay.
Does that speak to your question or
Yeah,
not?
I would just say, in addition to our wording, right? We're getting fancier with our wording, that in this particular site location, right?
Mhm.
So that if it comes up in the future where it's too close to the road, right, we can make that distinction.
Certainly your comments are on the record, and Krista will have them as a resource.
Okay.
As we sometimes do, look back on prior applications and the decisions of the commission. I think it's relevant to have that on the record.
Okay.
Other comments?
Carefree Buildings has been around for a long time and, well constructed from what I know about them. So we won't have any issues with them years from now, looking less than adequate.
Do we have material standards that we have to take into consideration? With the structure?
This is an accepted material.
It's a fair comment, Tommy.
It's
I
fine.
don't know that our substitute materials list addresses it directly. We can have a look at it, part of our discussion. Are we still working from the existing? I'm a little confused about that. Okay. So the existing one that's in our books I have is dated December 15, 2016.
Right.
And it does have some references to,
So it really talks about repairs and maintenance. This is a new structure,
Yeah.
so I don't think it actually is apples to apples.
Is there something else in the criteria that you're thinking applies? Barbara, you
No.
mentioned you thought it was an accepted material.
For a new structure, for an outdoor structure, I don't think we have specifics. I don't think we have specifics, but it's an outdoor structure. It's not a repair of an existing structure, so I just don't think, in my mind, I think it's fine.
Tommy, any comment on that? You raised a question, fair points.
Raising it for consideration. So,
Well, we've been accepting vinyl on windows and whatnot, partly because we realize that maintaining wood
Mhm.
in a marine environment that we have is difficult and costly for homeowners, and we don't want them to be saddled with that expense if it's not really necessary. And I think it matters more if it's the actual home and it's a contributing home, which this is not a contributing home. This is a newer home. And typically, and I think this is stated in the guidelines, for a newer home, we're not trying to have them do everything to make it look historic. And I think included with that, we would not ask them to use historic material on a new structure, such as wood or stone or brick.
I've just offer one, it's a personal comment, which is that I wouldn't be comfortable saying our standards are different for main structures and ancillary structures. They're as visible, as much a piece of the overall architecture of the neighborhood. So just on that one point, I would favor our standards are broadly applicable to any structure that falls under our jurisdiction. And something did occur to me as you were speaking, though, that there may be precedent that's helpful here, which is vinyl fences. I think the commission has approved other use of vinyl materials for fences am I right? Do people think that's been the case?
I know they exist.
That's a true statement.
I'm thinking.
In
Not
district.
seated, I'm not seated.
So I have a recollection of one particular project that since I was on the commission, I don't know the street number. It's a early 20th century home, and Goggins, I think, are the owners. I believe they proposed and we approved fencing that's vinyl on the property that's visible from the street.
I remember that they.
That's my memory, which is
Yeah.
far from perfect.
To the earlier discussion, this is not very visible. Enough in the back, so that should be a consideration.
I think what to me, what matters about it is Tom's statement about this company producing a good product. That matters to me more.
The staff buildings and the
Right, but it doesn't talk about specific materials.
no, but the other features, but not.
Right. Yeah,
If we ask Paul if this is identical as what he plans on putting there, the photo, or just a facsimile of?
I don't recall the question.
we didn't have the question. I assume that that's.
Or have we been told that this is exactly what's being told?
I think he said that minus the pool,
Yes.
was what he
Okay.
said.
It's not allowed to speak, but hand motions, I don't know.
Minus the pool, yeah. So, because I liked, the pool was lovely.
I'm in favor of the pool.
I do not want a pool on my property, so I love having friends who have pools.
So, like, can we word I'm being stupid here. Can we word our motion that if the pool is included?
We all get invited.
I don't think we can do
We're
that.
not gonna say that. That's not on the
Say
record.
that, but I sure want to say that.
So I will ask Paul directly.
Now we
No.
can
You closed the public hearing, Tom.
The
So-
public hearing is.
say that in some fashion, he said that was the picture minus the pool.
Yes,
So,
so I think we can
That's good.
understand that this being the materials provided in the application, that it will look like this. Less the pool, probably less the patio furniture, probably less the hydrangea bushes.
and the shingles are architectural shingles. that
They're gonna
will
match.
Match the home.
Yep.
So.
Is there a consensus forming that would support a motion? People feel that way?
In this specific site location, yes.
Okay.
So
a motion to approve the application for 16 North Cove.
Where's your memo?
Yes.
Okay.
In this specific setting and site in which this outbuilding is going to be placed, we are approving based on the facts, representations, plans, and application materials provided during the meeting and public
Second. Sorry. No, go.
No, you go ahead. You do this one.
No, I didn't say it.
All right, I apparently don't have a second yet. Aaron, do you?
All right,
Sure.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the application is approved. Paul, thank you.
Thank you,
We'll
neighbor.
be
Thank you very
expecting the
much.
application for the pool
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
And the invite.
And the invites, right. Thank you all.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
All
Appreciate
right.
your work.
We have other old business. We've been at it for an hour. I had said that if we didn't have applications, we might be able to pass on both July and August. I couldn't make good on the applications. But I'm inclined to call it an evening unless people want to have further discussion about old business.
I just wanted to, if I could, just let people know, we talked about alternative shingles to cedar. This is that, whatever the word is. Wallaba shingle. That's what they're using at the Hart House on the archives
It's
building.
looking good.
And this is a cedar shingle, and there's quite a bit of difference in the weight. If you wanted to just
you can see it.
touch those. So that's all. I just,
Thanks.
because we didn't see a sample before, so.
Is the Wallaba or whatever that's called, is that a composite or that's a different species of wood?
It's a wood.
It's a wood.
It's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Brazilian, it's a South American wood, I guess it has.
Is it gray?
Yes, but I don't believe it's fast. And it has a 50+ year life.
It's expensive.
And
I
it
was about to
doesn't
say
need,
it's the,
it's totally right, and it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be treated every 5 years, like cedar.
But look how good it is compared to asphalt shingles.
Right.
gosh, there's
How
nothing.
good
that
it
even
looks.
compares.
Do you know the
And the thick-
spelling of that?
Like the texture.
Have they finished the
Yeah.
roof yet? Has the roof been finished? No. I see the piles out front.
Bananas. Good piece of flatware.
Of course, a cedar shake. would be that,
Yeah.
Or we have a regular shingle, which is fine.
Right.
Well, that's one of the ones that came off of the house, the archives.
WALLABA.
They should sell those as souvenirs.
Right. But
Well, maybe we could, next time we meet or next time we discuss the alternative material, maybe we could discuss this vinyl a little bit further. And accessory buildings, and other things. There's a statement made, now, I'm not saying it's wrong, okay, but there was a statement made that we've approved vinyl windows. I have to
Vinyl
go back
clad.
and look, and see how often we did that versus if we said no, what have you. And also, I don't know how often, like a vinyl accessory building. It was visible. Now, this one, I wasn't seated during the hearing, so I just shut up, okay, but this one, I think that the distance from the road was very germane to me. If I had been seated and had been in the conversation, that would have been very germane to me, because I wouldn't want to see vinyl 8 feet from the roadway,
Right.
so I think that was germane, but I think that's something we should discuss further, and possibly we could fold it into our alternative
Right.
materials conversation.
I think that's why it was very important to add in that it was non-residential based on this site. of where
Kind of
the
unusual
sun was
sighting,
going.
I mean,
Right.
a lot of the lots in the district are real small, like a lot of them, you can't get 150 feet from the road.
Yeah.
Like on my house, you can't get
I'd be
that.
nervous even if someone comes in and clears the lot, right? And then you're looking at it like, if the landscape is, change that very easily.
And we've been clear about that in the past, we've said, hey, we don't care what bushes you put up, we're gonna, in
Right.
terms of approving, we're gonna pretend they're not there.
Right.
either existing or proposed. Right? We had the trouble with the guy that put he got approval for a fence, but then he went to chain link.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I
changed
put
the
all those
material.
bushes. We said, well, okay, thank you, but we're gonna ignore those.
Right.
So maybe that's something we could talk more about, not when we're actively talking about an application, but when we're kind of more at ease.
Right.
We're talking about materials, so possibly at a future meeting.
Now, is there, and I'd be curious to know, is there a fence that was approved that was made a final?
I believe there's been one. And I think it's the one of you mentioned, and I think it was
guy
in
that's like-
conjunction with a pool.
Yeah, which is behind their house. So
I'm not aware of there having been others, but I'm. About that.
Well, I don't know the material on all of the
Right.
white fences that are in the district.
Because vinyl gets, the reason why we did the brick in the back of our house, is because vinyl gets wonky and yucky and, I mean, not that we would put vinyl, but I mean, it just doesn't, the longevity is not there and it looks bad quickly.
Mhm.
Now, the
But-
commission's been favorable towards AZAC.
Yeah,
It's a composite. You know, it's not that different from vinyl, but when it paints up to look like wood. But it is not a natural material.
Yeah.
It does get a little funky over time, I should say,
Well, you have to-
because the mold grows on it more readily than on some other materials, because a little bit of porosity on the surface. So these are just things I think that we might want to just talk about in the abstract at a future meeting. Not when we have a person.
So I think that's a good idea. Can I make a tiny little assignment
Oh,
in
sure.
preparation for that, which is, would you take a look at the criteria, and Lynette, maybe you also do this, where it might be relevant, where, you know, there are places where we might amend the criteria to say something specific, whether it's in regard to outbuildings or fences or, because the more, you know, what I favor is having written guidance
yeah.
to help both the applicant and the commission when making the decision. So if there are words that we can look at and interpret an application, I think that's helpful. So anything you see where there might be an opportunity to provide clarity or even an update would be good stuff for discussion.
And to that point, I think it's come up several times in the last few meetings where the placement has been very relevant. How you see it from the street, if you can't see it from the street, if it's, you know, that came up with the back of the house of I don't know.
The following.
Yeah. You know, the material that was gonna be used on the back of their garage. We vetted that for quite some time. This being knocked way back 500 feet off the road. I mean, so the placement seems to be a very important contributor to our decision.
And there's a way to fold that in if you are so inclined. And that is, and I'm jumping the gun a little bit. So when we go back in, each of us should go back in and look at the criteria. But for example, let's say we have a long conversation and we decided our criteria should say that generally speaking, things should have the appearance of a natural material when viewed from the street. Well, this kind of gives you that shock absorber on distance because you have something vinyl, right? It looks like plastic, it's a little bit shiny. Okay, that's fine. But does it look dramatically different from a natural material when it's 200 feet away? So I'm just saying, these are things we can think about if we decide to maybe to edit our criteria a little bit. And it kind of gives you that, it sort of builds in
Yeah,
the ability to say,
because,
somebody says, you approved it before. We said, it's 200 feet from the street.
right,
Well, why don't you approve mine? Because it's 18 feet
right,
and it looks like plastic
Right.
from 18 feet.
Right.
But at 200 feet, it doesn't really look like plastic.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying, this is something we can talk about, you know,
yeah.
and maybe fold in, like, as you suggest, perhaps in the criteria.
That's a very, very good distinction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very well said, because there's a big vinyl, the shininess of it, the quickness in which it deteriorates. I mean, there's far away, it feels and looks very different than it does close up.
If we're talking about an opinion here about how far away it is or how close it is, spring our eyeglasses into it. So each of us look at something different because our eyes are different. So that factor could be,
More subjective, right,
It is,
right,
but so is appearance in general.
right.
If I say, oh, it looks fake, obviously it's my
I don't
opinion.
know if we've really had a gazebo come before us before.
We've had a few accessory buildings. I don't know if they're
Yeah.
gazebos.
No,
We have
yeah,
had
we've
one
had-
gazebo
We've
for
had
sure.
shed.
We have had one gazebo, two gazebos actually. Chapin has one. Sort of gazebo-esque. And it did
He has an
come,
outdoor kitchen.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the roof over it sort of gazebo-esque. And I think Jeff or Jeff's neighbor applied for a gazebo and was granted one. And so I do remember that, and the building is there, I believe.
Is it
And I
wood?
can't remember. Don't remember.
Yeah.
Don't remember. We'd have to look, but and also I don't know how much that was in the conversation. or whatever.
Right.
But we have had a gazebo and gazebo-like
Yeah.
structure.
Well, I mean, it's not something that, might not happen again anyway. People want to.
Now, here's what, we did have a little bit of a precedent set, but very few people maybe would remember it. And doesn't mean we have to always stick with our precedences, we don't. Okay, a prior commission could have said, oh, that's how we think about it, let's approve it. And this commission can say, well, they were wrong. We don't.
We
feel
don't
that way.
agree, yeah.
So what happened was years ago, Chapin had small children and he wanted a place.
Oh, that, yeah.
Okay, but I bring it up because the sort of semi-precedent that was set at that time was if you can pick it, if two strong men can pick it up and move it, it's not under the purview
It's
of the
not a
commission.
permanent structure, right?
And it plays over too to the building official, says if it's not that, then it's not a structure.
Right.
It's not regulated either by the building department nor by the commission. And therefore, do what you want, but that doesn't mean we have to stick to it. I'm just saying. Now, this gazebo is fairly large, but if you had a smaller one, a person might, if that precedent was still legit, person might want to lean on that precedent and say they have a 10 by 10. It was lightweight vinyl, right? So two guys can pick that up and put that. Right, so these are things we want to think about. Maybe we talk about that as well. We want to kind of still say that's how we feel about it. Maybe there's an attorney who can consult with us on that. I don't know, but to answer your question, there has been gazebos and gazebo-like structures. Some were put in without approval and later approved, and some were put in, they asked for approval and they got approved. And there was at least one that was denied. Because there was one where somebody wanted to put it in the front of their house, almost adjacent to the street. And now I don't remember if it was denied. It went away because of zoning or other issues, but it ultimately was not approved and it was not built. But an application was made.
So Lynette, wouldn't setback rules apply? If somebody's wants to
Yes.
put a structure, a secondary,
A gazebo or what's greenhouse
Structure.
structure, so it would have to meet zoning.
it would have to meet. the
People can always
setback
apply for variance though, so you
Right.
can't
True.
100% rely on.
rules. True,
But
true.
these not regulations, the criteria and guidelines do say, avoid locating in an area prominently visible from the street, so.
Okay.
That may have,
Well, I think
that one, maybe that's
that's it.
why that one went
I
away.
think that's
don't
kind of
know.
what Erin was,
I can never have a gazebo.
no, sorry.
Everything on your lot's visible from the
Thank-
street.
Everything. But
So-
the shrub.
I'm not sure, other than adding to this section about this paragraph about outbuildings, keep the design compatible with that of the. Major areas of concern are location, scale, architectural style, mood, and character. I mean, you could add materials to that. But I'm just flipping through this. I don't really know what else.
Well, there's
You
a
would want
thing,
to
Paul, and you
change.
might want to, being an attorney, you might want to contemplate it. And that is, do the more general provisions earlier apply to everything, including outbuildings? And does the outbuilding section provide more specificity, but the umbrella remains, The general rules remain, they apply to everything, outbuilding, main building, everything. And then in the outbuilding page and a half chapter, it's just a little additional specificity. Now, if one views it that way, then our normal view of things would apply to an outbuilding. And if there was an exception in the outbuilding section or more specific, something additionally required, then that would apply as well. But this, we should kind of look at also our guidelines holistically. So we need to think about whether the outbuilding, everything in the kind of book applies to outbuilding. Does it or doesn't? I'd have to go back and read it. I haven't looked at it in a while. So I don't know that.
Well,
We can
there is a
certainly talk
special
about it.
section for outbuildings, so.
Yes, there
Right.
is.
Page 22.
But is it an augmentation or an alternate provision?
Right, so a good example would be if the outbuilding has a window.
Yeah.
Does the section on windows apply to the window in the outbuilding? And I think the answer's got to be yes.
Just an example, yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would think that it fell under.
Roofing. Somebody wanted to use some unusual roofing on their outbuilding, and we have kind of both history and guidelines on roofing. Is the outbuilding totally exempt from those, or do those still apply? Or, I mean, these are things we should discuss and try to pin down if we can.
So when you ask me to look this over, can you just be a little more clear on what you're asking for?
Yes, I'll try.
Okay.
Which is reflecting on Rich's comments about our continuing to grapple with materials, in particular vinyl, but with other substitute materials.
Planning is also an issue.
Yeah,
for us.
So substitute materials is for, when you're repairing something.
right, which is what Barbara pointed out during our discussion. That's really doesn't help answer a question here, but
Are you gonna say no vinyl in the criteria?
We don't know what we're gonna say,
right.
so we think it's worth discussing. So if somebody came into the district and however this happened, there was a vacant lot. And they wanted to build a house. And they said, here's my house, and I want to put vinyl siding on it. I want vinyl windows, I want vinyl siding. And it's in the district, right? Is it gonna be okay? It's not gonna be okay. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be okay. That's something we should contemplate. And then similarly, somebody says, oh, I have a nice, not contributing, but nice historic looking home, but I want to put this plastic building side or something. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's something we should think about.
See clearly from the street.
Right, let's say it's 20 feet from the street.
Right.
It's something we should at least think about. And if, like Paul said, if possible, in our guidelines, put something that provides some direction that is appropriate for what we think it should be.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure that it was directed solely you to look at these guidelines. I think commissioners should look at these guidelines so that if we have a future conversation, we're kind of familiar with what we're currently guiding people to do versus what we might guide them.
Certainly as things come up, that's something I specifically look for. Wow, is, this particular proposal addressed in here adequately? So
It triggers it. We should talk about it.
there was a proposal to change the windows section. I don't know if we ever done
Yeah,
that.
we're finished.
That would be our old.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
we need to finish that conversation under old, but perhaps next time.
So that chapter has already been revised in the draft. Section, chapter, whatever, windows.
Yeah. So I'd like that to be a focus of our September meeting. It's item C, I think, on our old business, and we made good progress.
Love to help you, but I won't be here in September, so I'll be out of the country.
Are you back in October?
I am,
Because you should be around for windows. You're a window guy.
and so is my friend.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
He's very helpful in this conversation.
Yeah.
So maybe October.
Sure,
Sure. That. Okay.
I think it would be helpful to have the full complement, so let's plan on that. All right, thank you.
I can
Thank
tell.
you, thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Aaron, why don't
Who's gonna second? All right, who's gonna second?
Second it.
There you go.
Objection, we are adjourned.
See everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Nice to see you.